We teach Google Analytics. It's not the sexiest thing in the world. It's not like I've got a diet pill that saves you, can drop 100 pounds in 30 seconds or any of that stuff. So if you have a little niche where you're like, I'm not sure how popular it is, it can be popular. Just get out there and do it.
Coming back to that whole concept of this tiny little niche that you don't know how many people are interested in, it's not so many, but I want to find them because I can really help. Just talk a little bit about your strategy for actually making people aware of who you are, what you do, and how you can help.
Yeah, absolutely. Because again, it's not a topic that has particular appeal to most people. Like not everyone's out there looking to learn how to set up Google Analytics for right now. Obviously, there's a lot more now than there used to be. But again, it's a subset of a subset of a subset of a niche, right? It's very small. So you can't, and we've tried, this is how I know, as far as I know, again, I'm not a Facebook traffic expert. I know enough to give Mark Zuckerberg a ton of my money and not get a lot back. Let's put it that way. I know how to give him money, but we tried this over and over again with platforms like Facebook, with all the paid media, right? With everything they tell you to do. And it's been an adventure because we've been trying over and over, like, how do you say, learn Google Analytics in a different way, right? But the thing is, that sort of those platforms, they're not looking for that. They're trying to see cat videos or whatever else. And you're just interrupting them. And they're like, no, that's work. And that's all I'm saying is, hey, would you like to do real work for a change? No, I would not. Thank you very much. I'm going to buy the diet pill instead. So we realized like those platforms aren't going to work. So how do you do that? And more importantly, why? There's a longer sales cycle in your head to understand kind of what this is about and why to use it. And it's very hard to do that in an impulsive manner. So all this impulse media that works, like influencer marketing, everything else, like I get it, but it's good for impulse. But with Google Analytics, it was tougher. So we needed an educational component to it. We realized, and this goes back to the original thing that we were talking about in the beginning of this, was strategy, right? Talking about the trade, not so much the tool. So in our case, we started talking about measurement and measurement strategy. So where do we have these conversations? Way back in the day, years ago, we had on stages. I was on stages. I still am on some stages. I like speaking and I don't mind that. So I was doing public stages and I was like, oh, this is cool. 300 people. And we would get some leads and we would get some sales. And it was always good. There was the biggest room I ever had was somewhere around 3,500 total in a live face-to-face audience. So that was great. And we started seeing that. And then it occurred to us about podcasts as a channel. But the trick is, and this is what ties it into measurement, is we did it because people were asking us like, oh, can you help me with a podcast? I'm like, sure, we'll help out, we'll educate, we have great conversations. But we measured it. We measure the podcast. So we always say when somebody says, well, how can they find out more about you? We would give them a link so that if that link was used, we could tell it was used. And it tells us the specific podcast the person came from, and that it's podcast, which is the most important thing. So we understand that it's this channel of podcasts that are working for us. So we did that in the beginning. Well, then I started noticing, and this is probably about 6 months of doing that, a couple of podcasts I was on, nothing major, but we started seeing in Google Analytics that the podcast traffic, it did have that initial spike, right? Because when the podcast drops, it's when the most hits come in, but then it dropped off. That's fine. But it didn't go to zero. So we're like, podcasting, interesting. We would look at this. I would be getting traffic on podcast I haven't been on for 3 or 4 years, but I got traffic last week from it. And I started going, oh, let's rethink podcasts. Like maybe there's something here with podcast. So we said, okay, we're going to focus on strategy and just talk about strategy because that's easier to talk about when you're driving in the car, right? As opposed to like, click this button. It's like, what button? I can't do that. I'm driving. And then we would do that with the idea, the hypothesis that this audience would be more, even though there's less of them coming in, it's not something I can like have 10,000 people coming in. And most podcasts are not that big. So I know it's going to be a smaller audience, but even though the initial pops come in when the podcast drives, at the end of the day, if I have 50 or 60 or 100 different podcasts that I've been on, what's that trickle look like 6 months from now? And that trickle, I can tell you, gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So there's this nice consistent source of traffic from all the podcasts I've done now over the last 4 or 5 years. And the more that I keep adding, right? Such as this one. So we saw that and we can measure, right? Because we're measuring, we know it came from podcasts. We can measure what the results are. So we can see the leads that we get from podcasts, and we knew that was real. And we can see sales that were originally attributed to people who came in from podcast leads. So we could see that was working. So there was some monetization there.